welcome to another Balance Your Productivity live broadcast here on Facebook. Every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. So if you'd like to get notifications and you want to join in, then take a look at my Facebook page and follow that, and you'll get the notifications when I go live. And hi Tish, good to have you with me here again. So I hope you're ready to jump in with some questions, and I'll try and field them or make some comments. Do feel free to watch the other videos in the series where I've shared various topics around how you can use your time more productively and more effectively throughout the day. And in the last couple of sessions, I've just been covering working from home, as that's something that a lot of people these days are doing more and more, whether it's full-time working on your business or it's something that you do part-time or just every now and then when you have the opportunity. So what I wanted to touch on today is some of the do's and don'ts of working from home, and also to have a little bit of fun with this as well, throw in a few stats. As I mentioned previously, I did some work based on a survey around working from home, and I created a report around that. And some of the stats that came up were quite interesting, so I'll share those as we go through on how many people are nowadays working from home. And it is more and more of us, even just in the corporate environment, there is that ability to be flexible or even to work from home full time. So one of the first things, get that one up as we go into the do's and don'ts, is do set up an area within your house where you can work from home undisturbed, especially if you've got family or a partner or pets around. You're more likely to get disturbed and distracted and easily interrupted if you are working at the kitchen or dining room table. You're going to be in easy reach and you're just there. So if you can remove yourself from the rest of the household, that is a definite do. Do get out of bed while it's tempting. And I know so many people these days, and I do it myself, you have your smartphone that you take to bed with you, whether it's your alarm, it's sleep tracking, it's got the latest book that you're reading on it. But there is then that temptation to start work from home. And unless you're feeling poorly, then in which case you probably shouldn't be working. That's not a great thing to do. So get out of bed and work from an environment that's more conducive to work, at least a sort of an office and desk and a chair. Lounging in bed is not great for your posture either. Doesn't do your neck, shoulders, and I find it bad enough just working at a desk a lot of the time. And within the survey, 21% of the people that were asked, it was from various people within organisations that worked from home, 21% of people actually admitted to working from their bed. It helps you get into work mode if you get up, get dressed. A couple of other interesting stats that came out with this were 24% of people admitted to working in their underwear, with 1 in 5 of those actually staying in their underwear all day, and 10% of people working from home work in their PJs. So sort of can be okay as long as you don't have to be face to face with anyone. I'm obviously not in my PJs today, you'll be pleased to hear, and I don't normally, although your work from home attire and your uniform as such might be completely different from what you would wear in the office, at least feel comfortable and professional while you're working from home. Another big don't, and this is probably a really obvious one, is don't take a call when you're in the bathroom. Seems obvious, but apparently 17% of the people admitted that they had actually done this. So it's not something that anybody else wants to hear what's going on, and obviously it's not very professional and not particularly pleasant for anyone else potentially listening in. Do plan your day and write action lists in the same way that you would if you were working in the office, so that if you do get distracted or you go off and do something else, it's much easier to get back on track. Don't try and multitask. This is something generally it's not a very productive way of working. So you might be, if you've got a young family, I mean, I've heard of people feeding their toddler or feeding a baby, trying to cook dinner, writing, doing some writing, working on something else while they're on a call or trying to work. It can lead to disaster, particularly if you're on a call, you've got a lot of background noise going in. It can be in certain situations, and I have heard it, and it's been, I think, particularly there's a Twitter chat that I'm on in the evenings quite a bit, and in that people will say, I'm doing this while putting the kids to bed or feeding or cooking dinner or something else. So in certain situations it can be okay to admit to doing that, because the people that you're working with will understand the situation and either make allowances from it, or sometimes there's things you can't avoid. But try not to multitask, just from a point of view of getting productive and effective work done. Do stay focused. Especially when you are on conference calls, it's quite easy to get distracted when you're not in an office environment and you've perhaps got home things around you. Although 15% of people admitted to being on social media when they were meant to be on a work conference call. Conference calls, it's easy to be dialed in from anywhere, whether it's just audio or it's video. And 6% of people actually admitted to falling asleep when they were on a call, which perhaps particularly long ones, or if there are lots of people involved or the topic's not particularly exciting, can be easy to do, but that's a don't. Don't post on social media. Again, it's probably a really obvious one, but it's something that a lot of people do get caught out with. Posting on social media when either you're meant to be working, or particularly if you're supposed to be off sick. So going off with your mates and posting up images of you down at the pub off doing something which obviously isn't work is not going to be great. And it is surprising the number of people that get caught out by this. Even if your boss isn't connected with you on social media, they might know people that are, and other people can equally tag you in posts, which can also catch you out. So don't do it. Again, it's not professional. And if that's your attitude and your way of working, you're probably not going to stay in that job very long. And so bosses know how to access social media, and a lot of what you put out there is more publicly available and more visible than perhaps you might be aware of. Do treat yourself. Having said that, you can manage your work time around school, feeding, nap times for young children, working when you know that you're not going to be interrupted. And that's one of the benefits of being able to work flexibly. So it's something that is, you can be flexible and still achieve a lot of work. Tish just posted up. Tish, yes, yeah. People and bosses and HR and recruitments are using social media a lot to find out about who you are and what you do and get a bit more of a background. So it can be very positive from that point of view, but it can also be very negative. And I've heard instances of people not being given jobs, or we see the ones that come out in the press of people being sacked because of what was going on social media, their behaviour. So make sure that what you are posting does give a good professional impression if that's who your social media profile is about. And also making sure who can actually access it. So yeah, it's a great way to show that we all have a personality. We're all people outside of our immediate work, but it can also have those downsides. And in the context of working from home, you're working from home, but suddenly you're posting pictures of you out doing something completely non-work related, or not somewhere where you might be working. While I'm posting photos of me in a cafe or working somewhere else, I'm still working. Don't be too tempted to chat with friends, neighbours, skip work for a long, lengthy lunch break, unless that's how you're managing your time. I mentioned last week that when you're working flexibly and you can plan your time, you can do a chunk of time in the morning, take a break, and then do some more work in the afternoon or evening if that's what fits round. 34% of people admitted to doing housework, which again can be a good way of taking a break during the time that you're at home. 27% shopping on the internet, 18% catching up on TV. You can do that within a break, but it's that don't get distracted or find out that, yep, you've suddenly watched that box set when you really should be getting on with something at work. Use them as treats and rewards for completing work or taking a break if you need to. It's not all about solidly working through. Do make sure you take a lunch break. It can be quite tempting when you are working from home to just carry on working. It's just as important to take breaks working from home as it is when you're working in an office. It helps boost your productivity. It helps you stay motivated and focused and less likely to fall asleep in those conference calls. 13% of people admit to going out and walking the dog when they're working from home, which again is great. You're getting some exercise and you're getting some fresh air, and a dog is a great reason for doing some of those. And it gets you up from your desk as well. Don't work late just because your office is in the room next door or upstairs. Finish work at a set time. As I've said previously, both working in an office environment and when you're working from home, is have your set start and particularly end time, so it doesn't just drift into the evening or working late. If you don't manage to complete everything that was on your list, then set it up to do that another day or the following day. Do let people know that you are working and that you don't want to be disturbed, whether that's your partner, family, friends, so that they can respect your work time. Tish just posted up. Yeah, more on the social media topic. So, and actually, that one was interesting yesterday because I got interrupted 3 times by my neighbour who wanted something. Actually, it was an interruption, but it was one I was able to ignore because I happened to be on the phone both times when, as it turned out, she'd rung the doorbell, and another time when another phone, she'd actually rung back. And then saying, because they know that you're there, that you're at home, they can just sort of knock on the door. So it's nice to be available, but there are times when I'm working. So letting them know that actually these are my work times, and it's fine if they need to talk to you or contact you, but you then get back to them at a time that suits you when you're not working. I had a similar thing a couple of weeks ago with, again, working and in this case studying at home, constant interruptions throughout the day from family. And when you react to those interruptions, you break your flow of work, and then it's more difficult to get back to it. Whereas if you've set good boundaries around, this is my work time and I will get back to you either in a break or at the end of the day, then that's fine. You maybe just need to do that a few times. And particularly when you first start working from home, there is that, oh, you're working from home, you're not really working, therefore I can phone you up, interrupt you, invite you out for lunch, coffee, whatever it might be. It's fine, and it's great to have the flexibility, but you do need to have some structure and make sure that you're working effectively, and you can use those to break your working week up, particularly if you work full time. Which leads me on to the final don't go stir crazy. When you work from home and you're in your own home office, if you don't have other people around you, it can be quite isolating. Other people are in an office or have regular contact with the people around them, have those water cooler moments. And if you're working from home, you don't. So do break your day up with conversations with real people, particularly if, like me, I do most of my work over the phone. So I don't necessarily see people on a day-to-day basis. So I do make sure that I have that flexibility. I go out, meet people for coffee, go and work in a coffee shop, have people around, go off and fit other things in within my week so that you don't feel so isolated, and about 20% for people tend to find it quite isolating working from home, and it can be quite hard work, particularly when you get into you're new to it and you're starting to get into that routine. And so I'm just reading comments that have come in. It is, yeah, Tish's point around particularly when you're in a very small space, is to be very clear. And you do sometimes have to sort of repeat the, no, I'm working, please don't interrupt me unless the building's burning down. Or I need to get on with some work for a couple of hours. And people will slowly get the message, even if they're just used to having you around. And yeah, one of the things that I do is, if I need to take a break from the home office, is go off down to another space, whether it's working with somebody else or just working in a coffee shop, which can be great and can actually be less distracting than working from home. Even if you think that you've probably got more people around you, you've got more noise, you've got more distractions, it's different. So it can actually be a really good way of focusing and getting work done. So as I said, it's not for everyone. Some people find that they try working from home, but they really much prefer to have other people around them. They prefer that sort of the energy and the stimulation that they get. But it can be a great way to work, and it gives you that flexibility, which is what a lot of people like about working from home, particularly with holidays, half terms, young children. You can spend time with them. You can see more of your family than you might do if you're spending a lot of time commuting, or you do spend a lot of time at work, so it can be much more productive. So a few do's and don'ts. Other tips and ideas and suggestions were in the previous couple of sessions, so do take a look at those. And if you have any comments, or you need help creating your own structure and routine, or you're not sure where to start for your particular situation, then do get in touch. There is a working from home ebook which you can get from my website, and we'll go through some of these tips as well. And of course there is the time quiz that's on the site. If you have any specifics or any comments you'd like to add, then please do so within the Facebook group, and I will get back to you on that. So I'll see you at the next week. Yeah, it's just saying working from home is a great privilege and a benefit, and yes it is, and it's a great way of working, and it can be a very productive way of working, and it's something that more and more people are now doing. So until next week, 4:30, I will see you then. But if you have any questions, comments or suggestions, then do get in touch. Take care.